Ha ha ha!
Ha ha ha! How do you make the worst French-Canadian zombie film you have ever seen? Well, we are about to find out on another episode of The Pod People, and it's a rainy day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we watched a suitably bleak, dour, boring slog of a fucking movie about 5 minutes ago. Yeah. So we're just gonna jump right into that, aren't we? Yeah. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and it's also Ben and Eugene are here too.
Ooh,
yes,
we're talking about Ravenous, the second worst thing to come out of Quebec.
Since Quebecians, since just the citizens of that region. This is
not to be confused with the 1999 horror thriller Ravenous.
What?
Yeah, about like the dude who eats people in the Civil War. I've never seen it, but I've heard
it's much better.
I've heard it's good.
That sounds exciting. Yeah,
but no. Instead, we're talking about the 2017 French-Canadian Ravenous that we just happened to stumble across on Netflix and thought it looked interesting.
Yes,
New release in America. Came out on March 2nd on Netflix in the U.S.
Yeah, it's pretty new on Netflix, yeah. And I mean, the trailer looked interesting.
Oh, and particularly me, I'm a huge zombie fan, so I was sort of pushing for us to watch this because I thought, like, hey, Netflix zombie movie. Like, I think that overall, I've been really impressed by a lot of the stuff Netflix has been doing. Certainly, they have their flops like Cloverfield, Paradox, and I was looking at it positively, and it even had good reviews. So coming into this, I thought, well, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the trailer looked interesting. I came into it with a totally open mind. I came into it expecting to enjoy it.
Yeah, for people who don't know about it, it is about...
what is it about? Because if you're gonna I don't know what this is about.
I'm gonna do my best. It takes place in the wooded areas of Quebec, I guess. I thought this took place in France.
We assumed it was France the whole movie, and then...
And we follow around a bunch of different characters. They're all separate at the beginning, but they all meet up afterwards. There's a guy named Bonin, who's sort of like...
Banana.
Yeah, banana.
Banana. You know you like the banana.
He's like a zombie hunter type. When we first see him, he's like off burning bodies and trying to find these... Well, I keep saying zombies, but these are like, they're like semi-intelligent. They're closer to like crazy people than actual zombies, I'd say.
They're more like the zombies in 28 Days Later.
Well, yeah, because they run fast.
They're the fast zombies. They're not like the decaying living corpse zombies.
Right, but you can tell like there's some semblance of like conscious behavior going on in them. I mean, it's very minimal.
Yeah, because they try really hard to be creepy and disturbing because they just stand on the side of the road.
They stand on the side of the road instead of running around.
Yes, right. That's the newest take on zombies. What if they just stood absolutely still? Isn't that terrifying?
You know, when we sat down to watch this movie, we were joking about not wanting to read subtitles, and I said, oh, don't worry, this is mostly just going to be French people screaming. And that was a joke, but that is basically what this movie was.
Yeah, I would say a solid 40 to 50%.
You forget that screaming is also interspersed with nice little 5-minute monologues for each character in this movie to just talk about my life before. Oh, what would I have done differently? Now these creatures.
I was working at a sex shop and I was dancing outside in a bikini, and man, I wish I could go back to work instead of being chased around by zombies.
Oh, I want to go see Mickey Mouse.
I want to take my kids to see Mickey Mouse.
It never finds a good middle ground between either of these moments.
This movie's hella pretentious, dude. But I don't feel like it actually has anything to say. It thinks it has something to say. It's just so fucking boring.
Long bouts of nothing.
It's so dour. Like, I'd say like 60 to 70% of the movie is just the characters shuffling around looking sad, looking at their feet, you know?
I don't think that it even succeeds in being like sad or like
it's not, but it's so dour and so devoid of any sort of fun or joy. You know, for me, I think a zombie film that is entirely devoid of fun is almost kind of inexcusable.
My counterpoint to that would be I don't really care too much about fun as long as the story is tight.
Oh, sure.
The biggest problem I had with this is there was a bunch of disparate tangential
nothing
stories.
felt like the story
It was
feels
a bunch
so
of different
non-existent.
sects of people walking around fields, and eventually the stories come together, but not even in a satisfying way.
No, not at all.
there's literally just one point where the main group is sitting in the woods by the river, and two characters that they keep cutting back to the entire movie just walk up. And nobody says anything. They just like, oh, well, now all the characters are together. Nobody acknowledges it or anything. They don't know these people. They're just kind of a part of their group now.
If you could not tell already, whoever's listening, that we're not fans of this movie, but
Oh, no
I
shit.
think we should just get this out of the way now. I think the one thing that we can all agree was a strength in the movie is the cinematography.
That's about the only...
It is a really good looking movie.
It's very nicely shot. There's some very pleasant visual moments. It looks very clean,
That's
properly
surprisingly
exposed.
good gore too.
Some of the practical effects are pretty good. Well, some of it's probably CG, but the gore is fine. But there's not even enough gore, Like, anytime it got bloody, I was like, okay, this is starting to win me over a little bit more, and then it just gets fucking boring again. I think one of the biggest sins is that I don't care about any of these characters.
None
The
of them
movie,
are
there's
set up.
there's so many of them. None of them are set up. We kind of just jump into their story, but they don't give me any reason to care about them because they have basically zero dramatic range. And that's not saying the actors have no range, but the characters have no range. They're all just so mopey and, oh man, the zombie apocalypse and I can't go back to my day-to-day life and all of my loved ones are dead and I'm sad.
Oh man, zombies are here. Now I can't work at the sex shop with my friend.
It's the most like existentially angsty movie I've seen in a long fucking time.
Right, and it doesn't
And as somebody
really have a right to be.
Well, and as somebody who is constantly overwhelmed with existential angst, this movie did not speak to me in any way.
I'm so baffled because after we watched this, I was looking at reviews just to see what is going on and
figure
like
out what everyone else seems to really like.
I feel
this
like
movie.
we're on a different wavelength than everyone else. I think my theory is correct. I wanna read this opening paragraph from a Letterboxd review I found. Very impressed with this French-Canadian indie zombie film. Personally, I love watching horror movies in another language with subtitles. I don't know why. It's just interesting.
I think your joke might be correct.
No, I mean that's just one.
Yeah, no, that's just one idiot.
I found another review too that that's like someone's like, oh, it's French, so it's smart. But then I found this other review where it's like
It feels like it's trying to be smart.
I'm
but
smart, and I'm going to project. Fucking here, I don't know how to pronounce it in French. Les FM, which is what Ravenous, that's the French title.
Les FM.
Les FM's spry invocation of frontier politics proposes critical considerations of sovereignty discourse, land title defense, and cultural dominance, which is a lie.
No,
don't believe this
none
reviewer.
of that's in the movie.
And also, I just saw this. The director, what's his name? Robin Aubert.
Robin Aubert, yeah.
Aubert complicates decidedly white Quebecois sovereignty narratives with the conspicuous early inclusion of the endearing and exceedingly virtuous protagonist Vagina,
Vegeta,
who is black. And as is somewhat humorously custom to the genre, he's the first to perish with a legacy dangling somewhere between Canary in the Coal Mine and Magical Negro.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Holy shit, dude.
This
Oh
is
my
an
God.
awful reviewer. Who is
Well,
this?
it's like this guy. It's just some fucking reviewer
Trash
person
man?
from CinemaScope. Well, it's like this. Maybe it's only French and French Canadians that get the nuance of this film, and us as dumb Americans,
You know,
I don't get it.
That review is shit though because he's claiming there's a bunch of bigger ideas and themes going on, and then he doesn't back it up at all.
That's true.
Like-
and, I mean, maybe there is something to be said that if you understand or know anything about Quebec politics or things like that, then maybe this does have something to say. But Jesus Christ, like, I was trying so hard to figure out what the point of this movie is, and I still cannot fucking find one.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Like, there's no sovereignty allegories or themes in this.
Because it's
I didn't
not
see
like
that
any of
either.
the actual humans ever have conflict with each other, so there's nothing built up from that.
Yeah.
There's no inner.
Well,
like,
yeah, see,
conflict
that's
that
the
they're
thing.
dealing with.
That's like in so many zombie movies, which, I mean, I'm not as big of a zombie guy as you are. Like, I love Romero and I love his early stuff. But it's like a big hallmark of good zombie stories is like the zombies are a secondary threat. The collapse of society allows for the worst aspects of humanity to come to the fore.
Oh, yes.
That's what, like, not to bring up The Walking Dead because that show fucking sucks now, but like...
But,
that's
I mean,
like the
that's-
whole point of The Walking
right,
Dead, and the
that's still
first couple of
something-
seasons was really good.
The thematic material doesn't come from the zombies. It comes from the human interaction.
The zombies are a threat, of course, but it's because that society has collapsed that allows really shitty people to take power, and that's why in zombie movies it's like the main threat always comes from the other people and not from the zombies.
It's the bikers in Dawn of the Dead. It's
exactly.
The shitty military cronies from Day of the Dead.
From Day of the Dead.
The shitty military cronies from 28 Days Later.
Right,
So,
exactly. Like, the zombies are secondary.
Abusive, it's overbearing mothers in Dead Alive. Like, there's always still something.
But don't you see, guys? He tells bad jokes, and then that's why the Quebecies are dominated sovereignly. I don't understand why there is so much bullshit around this movie. Like,
no, it's like there's... And the zombies are frustrating to me. They're honestly one of the more frustrating aspects of it because it seems like they're trying so hard to make the zombies seem creepy, but it's like blatantly cinematic, manipulative creepiness where, oh, look, there's somebody who's covered in blood just standing totally still in a field. Isn't that eerie? Because that's not what normal people do. Look at how creepy all of those zombies are, just standing there, not
that's
moving.
The only card that the
and
director
then they
has.
start shrieking.
Yeah, the biggest problem I had is they're fast zombies, right? But like half the time, like people just like stand around and wait for them to start chasing them.
Oh yeah. And there's so many times in this movie too where there'll be a character standing somewhere and you can tell because of the way it's framed that
Something's about to
the
pop up.
camera's gonna move to the side and the zombie's gonna be standing
like
right there.
3 different fucking times
and
this
sure enough,
happens.
every single fucking time, it's like, zombies there.
Hey, zombies.
Man. There's that scene where there's a zombie in a very foggy field.
Oh, yeah.
And we hear the sounds of a crying baby. And as the character gets closer, it's revealed that she's a zombie with a baby doll that apparently only cries.
Yeah, you pull a cord and it cries. And I legitimately, for a second, thought that it was just a really bad baby prop until I saw her pull the cord. I'm like, that's a bad fucking baby. It's like, wait, it's a doll.
Like an American Sniper baby.
Yeah, for some reason, the zombies stack chairs in fields.
Which is never
Just chairs and
explained.
other furniture and objects, and then they just build these massive like pylons and then just stand around them. And the first time we see that, I'm like, okay, all right, interesting. That's something new. Maybe we're gonna get something interesting from that. And that was like halfway through the movie, and I'm like, it's too late, but maybe at least the second half of this movie is gonna redeem itself, and then it's never addressed.
Well, yeah, and the tower gets to the point where there's no way they could.
Well, yeah,
ever
it's
get
so
chairs up
tall.
there.
Like, there's no way the zombies would ever be able to do that. And then at the end, when all the other characters are dead, and it's just the little girl left. She walks past like a small pile of like toys. Is like, did the zombie children stack up their toys or something?
Yes.
And
but you don't get it. It's like these zombies, they're so mindless. They can't even emulate their past lives.
they forgot how to use chairs, so they just stack them up instead.
At least according to the CinemaScope review, that's what it's supposed to mean.
The Tower of Chairs is a metaphor for the consumerism of the people of the zombies.
It's like, I feel like this movie is for people who think that Blumhouse movies like are too, like they're too smart for them, which like, yeah, most people are too smart for them, but that like they're better than
This
those kind of movies.
is a pretentious man zombie movie for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It feels like someone who only watches foreign films that have come out in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's
feel smart.
Well, that's the thing. This movie presents itself as being so full of commentary and thought and, you know, trying to provoke certain ideas, but in reality, it's just 100% hollow.
Yeah, and which, hey, maybe only Canadians will get something out of this movie.
Oh,
but
you know why I think I kind of hate this movie so much?
Why?
And I just occurred to me now. This reminds me of a fucking Nicholas Winding Refn film.
Not as pretty.
Not as pretty, though. That's the thing, but entirely devoid of any sort of substance, but it looks nice. And people who want to seem smart love it.
I haven't seen a lot of Nicholas Winding Refn's movies, but I will at least say that he knows what he's doing. Like,
Well, no, see, that's the thing. The only movie of his that I legitimately enjoy is Drive, and that's because he didn't write it. I think he's a fine director, but I think he's a garbage writer.
Yeah,
and all of his
that.
other movies that he have written are frustratingly bad.
This movie felt like something a buddy of yours would come up with, like, oh, I got to spend like 3 months in the countryside at my aunt's place. I got all these local actors together just to make like this zombie film.
It's like It's like a student film that had a really good budget.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's really struggling to keep itself together. At each moment, I felt like this movie is about to like not be a movie. It's about to just be like a fucking collection of scenes that they shot that don't really connect
it
together.
basically is.
Yeah.
Like, we've been super light on plot this entire review, and it's because there really is no plot.
No,
it's characters moving from one location to the next, being sad and pining for their old lives.
Which would be much more bearable if we had ever felt these characters grew as the movie went on. But
Yeah.
none of them, we never learned anything more than from the first minute we ever see them.
For instance, a movie that has basically the same premise but pulls it off better, even though I don't think the movie's fantastic, The Road. It's basically the same thing. It's very sad characters moving from one location to the next. Yeah. But at least The Road the characters have an arc.
There's a through line.
There's a through line.
I really enjoyed The Road. I thought it was it's certainly not as good as the book. Oh, the book is fantastic, but
so this is a book that we've all actually read.
Yeah.
The Road.
Yeah,
The book is phenomenal. The movie doesn't quite live up to the book, but it's still a solidly done movie.
Yeah.
And this is like The Road without any sort of through line, you know?
Cormac McCarthy and his writing, and I think The Road.
Oh, he's one of my favorite authors.
Like, it's so plain and bluntly put. I don't think there's a whole lot like you need to read too deep into, because I think he does a great job with explaining what's happening. But with this, like, it's trying to be so heady and like have a bigger message than it can actually deliver. It's just, oh God.
What I also found really annoying is that there are a couple of characters who have wounds that we don't see them get. So the entire question through the entire movie is, are they bitten? Have they been bitten? And it's like, yeah, they have.
It's like, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
The ones that have been bitten, you know, there's that moment in a lot of horror movies where, oh, someone's hiding a bite, or Like they're just waiting to die, and then we'll have to put them down. Like there's going to be an emotional moment. But in this one, any of the characters that actually are bit, they end up dying before they ever turn into zombies. Or
and except for the old guy who has the wound on his leg, and
that's right.
and everyone just seems to brush it off because he says he wasn't bitten, and then of course he was, and so he fucking tears the throat out of that the young boy. You know,
which also like those.
It's like why did you guys let that happen?
Like all the characters are underdeveloped, but the old man and that boy were probably the most cardboard cutout characters. I felt really bad that they even had to be there because they do fucking nothing.
And then like the one rich lady with who's really good with the machete, after the boy gets bit and she kills the old guy, and the boy's just like sitting there bleeding out from this enormous wound in his neck, and she's just sitting there like, I left my kids behind because I went to go get a manicure because I wanted to be the perfect wife. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's just like, and then she just like cuts back to the boy just like spurting blood from his neck,
like,
and then she like
kill me,
and then she like hands him a picture of her kids, and he's sitting there looking at it with blood spurting out of his neck. He's like, my name's Remy. Like, what the fuck is this? Ugh! It's so fucking frustrating. Like, why are you trying to fucking philosophize? Like, the kid is literally about to die from an enormous bite wound in his neck. Why is this the time that you want to sit down and talk about getting a manicure?
Right.
You know?
Also, inappropriate. You're talking about like appeasing your husband, like sexually and things like that. It's like, this kid's dying.
This kid's definitely a virgin. Like he's never had sex, and he's never going to because he's gonna be dead in seconds.
Yeah,
like, fuck you.
We don't need you just like explaining how hard it must be to be a woman in Quebec. It's like your movie isn't worth this sort of dialogue.
And for some reason, at the end of the movie, everybody decides to sacrifice themselves for no reason.
Right. Like every single person runs off. It's like, I'm gonna be the martyr. I'm gonna be the martyr.
And then it just ends up being with like this little fucking 6-year-old girl by herself completely. And it's like, oh, we sacrificed ourselves so you can live. But realistically, like, she's barely older than a toddler.
They just left her to die.
They just left her to die, basically. Well, I mean, she does find the NASCAR man at the end.
Which I hope they don't think that that's like a setup payoff sort of thing that they did, because it's just so unnecessary.
Because we're not introduced to his character beyond like a 2-minute scene at the beginning.
Him making out with his cousin, you know.
At a fucking NASCAR race, and then a zombie comes up and bites the chick in the neck, and then that's the last we see of him until the very end. He pulls up in his fucking NASCAR next to the little girl and like takes her
in his NASCAR uniform, and she asks, "Are you an astronaut?"
Nastronaut.
Like, what? What kind of question is that? He's coming up in a race car. Sure, he's wearing like a jumpsuit, but it has NASCAR and shit written all over it.
She probably can't read.
And it's like one of those dumb things that like the director wrote. It's like, oh, there's
that's funny. We see this guy at the very beginning, and then he's also the last guy we see at the end.
And also it's like, oh,
he's managed to survive this whole time.
Kid thinks that he's an astronaut.
It's like a circle.
It's like a circle.
Time is a flat circle.
Two things before we close up here.
I don't think any of us have much more to say. We're just ranting about how much we hate in this movie.
That whole scene where they're driving in the pickup and there's the zombie in the back of the pickup.
Oh yeah,
and she shoots him in the fucking head.
Yeah,
and then she spends the next 2 minutes trying to wipe off her accordion. With a map. When she's wearing a bloody shawl that could do it in seconds.
Yeah, and Banana is even like, oh, that's my map though.
I'm honestly upset that we didn't get her, because she plays she's carrying the accordion around the entire
movie,
and
totally
we all assume
unexplained.
it's like she's gonna play the accordion to sacrifice sacrifice herself, and then we only get 2 measly notes. I wanted her to I wanted a fucking ballad from her.
I wanted to hear some Weird Al polka shit. Right
Dude,
there.
that's the thing, though. She spends the entire fucking goddamn movie carrying around this accordion for no reason. We never see anybody use it. And then at the end, when she's gonna lead the zombies away from the little girl, she starts playing the accordion, and the song doesn't even fucking slap, though.
No, it doesn't slap.
The song, it does not even slap. It's like 3 notes, and then that's it. And then the little girl finds the accordion again later and decides to carry it around, even though it's like the size of her. What is that? What is that about? Why is there a fucking accordion? I guess we can talk about the one slightly redeemable thing. It's the soldier hitchhiker.
There's this soldier guy who seems like he doesn't realize a zombie outbreak is going on.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be crazy or something. Well, the only explanation for that we get is Banana says he thinks he's returning from a mission that he never went on, and that's all they ever say. But he's like in his whole uniform, and he's got a big duffel bag. And literally anytime they ever pull over their pickup truck, he just happens to be there, and he pops up from the side of the truck and scares them and goes, "Rah!"
Like, they're driving around in cars, he's just walking, but he seems to everywhere they happen to
pull over. It's just always you're sitting in the pickup truck, and then he comes up and he's like, "Rah!"
It's a dumb thing, but at least it has one of the only satisfying moments in the movie where, of course, the third time he does it, one of the women who's been told, like, hey, if you hear anything, just turn and shoot. And
yeah, which is also bad advice. Like, when the old lady is teaching her how to use the gun, she's like, if you hear a growl, don't even look, just turn towards it and shoot.
Right.
Which, terrible advice. And, of course, she's got the gun, and she hears a rah, and she turns around and shoots crazy soldier guy.
But then the Banana, he comes up and he's like, he's been bitten. You did the right thing.
Yeah, I don't think he had actually been bitten. I think they were just trying to justify. Yeah. But then immediately, like, the old woman takes her gun back. It's like, well, yeah, he was infected anyway. I mean, that was the only point in the movie that got any sort of emotional reaction out of any of us, I think.
That wasn't all that original. They basically do the same thing in Zombieland with Bill Murray.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know? Like, it's not an original idea. Nothing in this movie is an original idea. Basically everything except for the zombies stacking the chairs, which never gets any sort of explanation or payoff. Everything else is something that you can find from any other number of zombie movies.
Yeah.
That are either more fun, more interesting, have better characters, have a tighter story, or any combination of the above. All this movie has going for it is that it looks very pretty. It's well shot, you know. It's not bad to look at, but it's just really fucking boring.
Yeah, let's rate this. Okay. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore.
No, me either. I think we've said about everything we need to. You can start.
It was an ordeal, to say the least. It was rough to get through. 100 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours. Way too meandering, no focus. The few original ideas it had, like the chair stacking and stuff, weren't good ideas.
Well, they never got any payoff.
Just because they're original ideas doesn't mean they're good ideas. And I think this movie is getting way too much hype for some reason, and it's not worth watching. You'll regret it, most likely, if you're anything like us. It's a dour, boring exercise of a movie. I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Yeah, basically that's my thoughts exactly. This is one of those movies where at a certain point I was checking my phone like every 5 minutes to see if it was almost over. You know, it was a fucking slog. I'm gonna give it the same, a 1.5 out of 5. It's not interesting, it's not smart, it's not fun. In fact, fun is maybe the last word I would ever use to describe this movie. I don't ever want to see it again.
You know, I've talked in many other episodes about how I need to give Mother another chance, because seeing this sort of movie and seeing the way people are reacting to it, I can see more of what people enjoyed or appreciated about Mother but I cannot see what people enjoyed or appreciated about
I would
this.
definitely rather watch Mother than this, and I did not like Mother.
Yeah, I'd feel the same.
I would rather watch The Snowman than.
I would also rather watch The Snowman than this. I would rather watch Amityville: The Awakening than
Oh my
this.
god, yeah.
Although I would rather watch this than Fear.com.
Right, because even if a movie seems like it's made competently enough or that.
At least Amityville: The Awakening had Raisin Boy.
Right, like all these dumb movies that we can find something to enjoy throughout all of them, but with this it was just such a bore, and I was really happy when it ended. I mean, I wasn't happy we had to sit through it all, but I guess that's on me.
Thanks, Eugene.
Yeah, right. No, you guys are welcome. But I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5. Besides the cinematography, there really isn't much else worth seeing in this. So,
All right.
very bad Quebec, and anyone who's saying this is a good movie, you're just you're making bigger morons.
You like it because it's in French. That's why.
Very bad movie.
Worst movie of 2018 so far for me.
Well, I guess technically it's 2017, but yeah, this is not a fun movie. That gives Ravenous an average rating of 1.3 pods out of 5. I mean, I guess if you like this movie, get at us. I think it's going to be really hard to convince any of us that this is not just a fucking dull snooze fest, but I guess if you want to fight us about that, then hit us up at podpeoplepod@gmail.com or podpeoplepod on Facebook and Twitter. We welcome a good argument, I guess.
Hey, if you want to be wrong.
If you want to be if you want to be wrong, then
Hey, honestly, if you saw what other people are seeing in this movie, please try and let us know, because we don't see it.
help us understand maybe, but that's going to be a tall task. If you like the show better than you like Ravenous, then you can leave us a rating and review at Apple Podcasts. Take a few seconds out of your day to do that, please, and thank you. We promise to provide more interesting content than this movie that we just watched, or at least we'll try our fucking hardest. The show is produced and scored by Ben and edited by me. I don't really have anything else that I need to plug today. Do you guys have anything?
Go see Strangers Pray at Night instead of this.
Or fucking go watch the Poughkeepsie tapes over this. They'll
Right.
give you a much
And
more...
keep up with the new season of Atlanta. It's very good.
Yeah, I'm a couple episodes behind, but it is very good.
As I said before, dubs, back rubs in the tub. I'm not submissive, I'm dub massive. So just keep that in mind, everybody.
Well, thank you as always for listening. We'll be back next week with a full-length episode. We're still trying to figure out what that theme's going to be, but it'll be something fun, we promise. I'm Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm Ben Sheets.
And I am Eugene Lundeen. Watch out for those French-Canadian zombies standing in the woods.
Stacking furniture and screaming.
They sure are something.